Add to stage. Oh, there I am. Okay, I still don't have this Instagram thing down. Kind of crazy. As you know, technology is eluding me from time to time, although I do so much stuff on it. I know this Instagram is over there, so for those of you that are on these full screens, you don't get that bit. I wish you could see my world from my eyes, which is actually one of the things that's so important to recognize is that nobody thinks like us. Nobody. You might think people have a similar thought process, similar belief system, similar anything. And maybe there's some similarities. And yet we all have our own map that we're navigating the world through, which I talked about our map before. The map is not the territory. The territory is all of reality, which we are living in this little tiny map of our own reality and believing. I mean, if you look at the world around you right now, there's so many people that believe that you and I should believe the way that they do. And I'm just as guilty of it as anybody. Trust me, I'm not saying that I'm not that person. And I know better. So the thing is that we are all we are all projecting who we are out into the world. And I've said this a number of different ways, maybe not on these lives, but this notion that somehow our version of the world is the correct one is only correct for us. It isn't correct for everybody else. And so I wasn't even going to talk about this. What I was going to talk about is the hustle culture. So I did put that as the title. Part of that hustle culture is another paradigm, right? Another map that's out there. And I interview women in, for the most part, the women that I interview on my podcast, which if you haven't listened to my podcast and you are a woman going through midlife or about to approach it or through it, great, great, great stories in there because we learn through stories and without exception. So, ladies and guys too, because what I'm discovering also is that when I got this download to wake up the feminine on the planet, first of all, my reaction was, I don't know who the hell you're talking to because I'm the best man for the job. I can do anything that the masculine playbook has scheduled for success. Been there, done that. And it is all about the hustle culture. And women got the same playbook, this playbook of we are all part of the hustle culture. And you listen to anybody talking about success, and the component to success is work hard, not smarter, which is a great one, not through your feminine energy, which is manifestation, not through intuition, none of those things. It's work harder. It's go hard, struggle, put the most time in. And so this hustle culture is something that women have done for decades, ever since we got into the workforce. And the problem with it is that it burns you out, number one. But second of all, our bodies don't accept it. So as I said, one of the things that is so common when I talk to women, um, when I talk to women in these stories, is that they have gone through these experiences of being in the hustle culture, right? Driving, going up the corporate ladder, doing everything to get ahead and drive, 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 drive. And typically, it's one version of this is that our bodies break down. Our bodies rebel against that. And I was interviewing a woman yesterday. This podcast won't be up for a couple of weeks, but I loved this story because she starts telling the story of how one day she woke up, she was dizzy, she was disoriented, and she couldn't function. Her body wouldn't support her. And she fell face first into the living room floor. I mean, complete face plant. And as a result of that, she broke her neck. She had a traumatic brain injury. I mean, it was dramatic, something that you wouldn't ordinarily expect would happen in your own living room. And she went to doctors, and basically, she lived with a broken neck for 10 years. The beautiful part of this story, though, I said, okay, so what exactly was happening right before that? Because these are the stories that I hear over and over. I've heard women go blind. I've heard them tell these stories that their body shuts down. And any version of your body completely rebelling against you, I have heard. And it's so amazing because it's what happened before that that is the important point to take here. She says, well, I was striving and driving. She was the head of a university, a, a professor, and she was bringing homework home and she was helping the kids. And basically, you've all heard of the men that don't, that are never there because they're working. Well, women do that too. And so she wasn't supporting her family as far as being giving them time and being there. And she was in this hustle, 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 hustle. And the funny thing about this story was before she had told me that version, she had said during the experience of when she almost committed suicide, when she was laid up because of this injury, how much she regretted not being there for her kids while she's laying flat on her back. However, up until that point, she wasn't being there for them either. And I find it so interesting that our feminine wisdom, the universe, consciousness, all of that language I put around that gave her this opportunity to look at life differently, and it was pretty dramatic. And that's exactly what happens to women in midlife is that they go on this journey that they are in hustle. Now, I find it very also fascinating that I've interviewed several women that aren't in midlife. They're in their 30s, early 40s. And I actually had an experience with a young lady this weekend at a speaker event. She was doing the videotaping. And as I spoke to her and as I've read some of her social media, she's in the hustle culture. And this is what happens. I've been in it, so I'm not diminishing it in any way. I just find it so interesting that we get into this whole hustle culture and we don't really pay attention to what it is that our feminine energy is telling us. We don't connect with our intuition. We don't connect with ourselves. We don't connect with our soul, and our bodies cannot handle that much nervous system overload. So what nervous system overload is called stress in the 3D world. And we allow that to just consume us in a way that our bodies are so smart, they will say no. And they say it in a very dramatic way. And it's so beautiful when I hear these stories because the transformation, the transmutation, the alchemy of a woman that has gone from hustle culture, sorry, which is a very masculine concept. And I'm not I'm not debasing masculine against feminine because that's not what this is about. It's about bridging that. It's about balancing both of those energies. So it was so funny to watch because that is the essence of hustle culture. It's busy, 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 busy. And you can channel it into a version of success, which a version of success when you don't understand the balancing of these two energies is getting ahead, financial wealth, and that conversation. And one of the gals that I interviewed yesterday, she's a 30 something and she's already learned. She's not in midlife yet, but she's already learning that success is, and she said this clearly to me because she had one of those corporate high paying jobs. She's now a life coach. She says, I success to me is waking up absolutely inspired and my life is lit up every morning. And that really is success. And because how we have conflated success with money, we haven't put those two together to know that the beauty of success is loving yourself, loving your life, experiencing those things, understanding who you are, who are you at a soul level, what are your values, and then to add all of this together in another version of feminine energy was I was interviewing a gentleman. Mostly I interview women. He came to me through a very good friend of mine that I was on his podcast, and he's just written a book. And he starts out by talking about our mutual friend, who he says he is one of the most incredible, sensitive men that I have ever met. And he really understands his feminine side. And first of all, I was so shocked to hear a man say that. I was so shocked to hear a man say that because we have defined men in this way that if they begin to balance their feminine energy into their masculine selves, that they are perceived as weak. And we women have not helped that. I will say, we have not helped that conversation at all because, and I'm as guilty as the next girl, we go when especially when we're young, we want the bad boy. We want that man that you're not, or that boy that you're not going to bring home to mom. If he's nice, oh, he's too weak, he's too sweet. It's like, it's so funny how we have programmed ourselves. Societal programming is so powerful. And so I want all of you, men and women, if you're listening to this live, because I forgot to do my live yesterday, which is another thing, because I'm in the hustle culture right now, and because I rail against it, and yet I've overbooked myself. I'm about to go to Podfest, and so I thought I better crunch everything in before I leave, which is what we do in the hustle culture. And I'm taking this moment to do this because honest to goodness, I forgot to do it yesterday. I was back to back to back to back to back to back to back Zoom calls. And that is not a good thing. I did take an opportunity to take a walk, and there is a fun video on my Facebook. Scroll down and check it out because it is about one of my walks. I'm telling you, manifestation works in a really magical way. And is this whole thing of what feminine energy is about choice. It's about listening to this physical body and say, what do you need? And you don't have to be a woman to connect to your feminine energy, although that's who I talk to mostly. You can be a man because we both sexes want to connect with their feminine energy. We have two we have two energies within us, masculine and feminine. And when they are balanced, they work a beautiful dance in such harmony. It's almost unbelievable. But that's how we're designed to be. So if you want to connect with your feminine energy, man or woman, is you have to begin to listen, number one, to your body and also your intuition. And oh, yes, men, you do have intuition. Everybody has intuition. Even in the animal kingdom, it's called an instinct, right? It's that knowingness of who we are. So connecting to your intuition, listening to that intuition through your body and making choices based on that. Because if we do not make choices based on our soul self, we are making them based on what the world, what community, what social media, what all those people around us are telling us to do. And we can stop being brainwashed in a sense, because that's really what we're doing. Everybody that we're around. So if the people you are around, you are the person that with you are the Robin Sharman says you are the person who you have coffee with. So if you're communicating and surrounding yourself with people that don't support you, that don't uplift you, that aren't 5 steps or 3 miles ahead of you with where you want to be, you are not serving yourself. I once had somebody say to me, "Do you think you're the smartest person in the room?" And sometimes I do. And the answer to that question is if you say yes, you're in the wrong room. Because if you're the smartest person in any room, in any environment, in any group, you are in the wrong room. Because what you want to do is have those people that are farther along than you, that are farther along in where your journey is taking you, so that you can be encouraged. Imagine I wanted to play tennis, right? I might just, it would be a little hard to get Serena Williams to play with me, but I want somebody that's better than me. If I play with somebody that's less talented than me on a tennis court, I'm never going to improve. So here is the thing about hustle culture. It's just being busy for the sake of being busy. Get into a circle, get into a group that will uplift you, that's farther ahead than you, that can encourage you, that can be mentoring you in any way that that looks for you. Because this hustle culture is an old paradigm. There are absolutely more evolved ways to be. One of them is incorporating and balancing your feminine energy in a way that is so powerful. Not that the masculine isn't great, but it is power over. Feminine energy is power from within, and that is a much more powerful energy than anything you could ever build. It births magic. So, see you tomorrow.